everybody. Welcome to Odd and Untold, the podcast where we talk about all things strange and spooky. Today's the day after Thanksgiving, so I hope all of my U.S. friends, everybody here in the United States who celebrates Thanksgiving, hope you guys had a great day yesterday with your family and friends and food, and you're full of turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and all the good stuff that we get with Thanksgiving. And I am thankful for all of you. Just wanted to say that. Haven't really said that in a while, but I am thankful for everybody who watches. The show could not happen without you guys. So I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. I just love interacting with you guys. I love making content that you like, and I love just hearing from you. So thank you all. Just want to, again, thank my family, my friends, John and Josh and Scott. Without them, the show would not be where it is. Like I said, my family, my son Jake, Rebecca. I'm just thankful to everybody. So thank you all for helping me build this show and do this show and watching this show. So I appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed our little bonus episode this week. I did a little re-edit of our episode from last year, Thanksgiving horror movies with John. And last year I had posted it the day after Thanksgiving. So I post on Fridays and nobody really saw it. So I realized maybe get in before the holidays over this year. So hope you guys enjoyed that and found some cool horror movies to watch. And if you missed it, or if you're still looking for some cool Thanksgiving horror movies, check it out. I will link to it below. But this week I'm going to be talking about Bigfoot sightings that happened around Thanksgiving, not exactly on Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving sort of changes every year. It's not like, Halloween, which is the 31st, or Christmas, which is the 25th of December. So Thanksgiving kind of jumps around a little bit, but I kind of tried to focus on Bigfoot sightings that happened in late November. So November 20th to 30th, in that range a bit. So we're going to talk about a few stories tonight, and most of these have to do with hunters, because this time of year is hunting season. People are out hunting deer and turkey and all sorts of things, elk. And it's just, it's chilly out. It's fall, it's autumn. And I thought we'd talk about some Bigfoot sightings that happened in November around Thanksgiving. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hope you're enjoying your Turkey Day hangover, and kick back, relax, get some eggnog or some apple cider, and listen to some cool Bigfoot stories. All right, so I have 4 stories for everybody tonight, and this first one comes to us from Idaho, Valley County. And I did an episode on Bigfoot sightings in Idaho a few weeks back and addressed the passing of Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I will link to that below as well. But this comes to us from November 21st, 2018 in Idaho. So again, late November. This is a dusk sighting by hikers in the general vicinity of Tamarack Ski Resort. So the location details: we were in the forest near our campground doing some hiking when the sighting occurred. The nearest town is Cascade. Nearest road is State Highway 55. They also noticed a tree crashing. There were 2 witnesses prior to the incident. They were eating. This was around 5:15 to 5:30. Dark is kind of setting in. So we'll get to they don't actually talk about the story here. They tell the Bigfoot research organization investigator Kevin Llewellyn during a follow-up investigation what the story is. So I will get into that now. Okay, so Mr. Llewellyn says, I talked to the witness and his friend by phone. They were hiking at sunset, and 1/2 to 1 mile from camp, when about 30 yards away, they saw an upright figure looking at them from behind a large tree. The witness described it as gorilla-like, that is, a primate, not a bear. The tree did not cover the whole body. It swayed a little for 3 to 4 seconds and then ran in the other direction on 2 legs. The witnesses saw it for about 200 feet, and then it blended into the darkness. Due to the fading light, they could not see facial details, but the head was wide and the eyes were somewhat glowing red. The eyes were estimated about 6 inches apart. Both friends agreed it was at least 7 feet tall. It was stocky with long, heavy arms that swung out as it ran. Both witnesses said it moved very fast with long strides. The shoulders were 3 to 4 feet wide, shaggy hair longer than a bear, and dark brown. The friend thought the figure wanted to watch them, but then the hikers saw it. The hikers were disoriented. They ran for 10 to 15 minutes in the wrong direction away from camp. And this happens a lot when people panic in the woods. You get lost, you hear something, stay put. They ran. They eventually made their way back to camp using a light from a cell phone. So it's good they had a light on. They probably just didn't have their headlamps. They did not hear any vocalizations, nor smell any foul odor. They did not go back to look for tracks, so they were pretty freaked out. The next morning, around 7 a.m., they heard from camp 2 times the sound of a falling tree crashing. They did not look for the downed trees. There were a few other people in the campground, but the friends did not mention this to them. The family of the witness have camped at this area for many years around Thanksgiving, and there have been no other encounters. This is near a developed area, and at first may not seem likely for an encounter, but the Payette National Forest is very near, 1/2 mile away. Weather check for 11/21/18 at nearby Boise, Idaho. Sunset was 5:14, so it was still light, but the sun is now below the horizon, so you kind of have that ambient light. You don't have the direct sunlight. Twilight at 5:45 p.m., calm winds. So they have enough light to see this thing. But I want to just go over the story a little bit because there's some things in here that stand out to me. So the first thing, they see this figure looking at them from behind a large tree. We hear this a lot, that these creatures will try to hide behind a tree, and the tree never really hides their full bulk. You know, these are big creatures, so you're talking a very large tree that they would have to hide behind. But we often see this where they're kind of peeking their head or their head and shoulder around a tree to look at something. And this kind of reminded me of the experience that my buddy Josh and I had up in the Adirondacks, where the sun had set. It was just dark. We had a campfire going, and something was in the trees looking at us. We just kind of see the eye shine, like peeking behind a tree. So very strange. But we do hear that a lot in these stories, that it's peeking around a tree. The witness is saying it's gorilla-like, so not a bear. The tree didn't cover the whole body. It swayed a little. So we hear that a lot in these stories, that these creatures sway. And I've had commenters on my videos saying that maybe it's them trying to kind of orient themselves and see certain things. So maybe that's how they get their bearings. I'm not sure. So after it sways, they're saying it ran in the other direction on 2 legs. So again, clearly not a bear. A bear is not going to run on 2 legs. And I say this ad nauseum on the show, but bears aren't going to do that. They're saying it was 7 feet tall, glowing red eyes. They couldn't see facial details. Again, you're talking the light is fading. There's still light out, so you can kind of see more silhouettes at that point of day. It's dusk, it's twilight. So interesting that they're seeing this thing. Longer hair, longer than a bear. So dark brown, wide shoulders, 3 to 4 feet. Again, the profile of a bear standing up does not look like this. I'm throwing the photo up once again. I love using this photo because it's clearly not a Bigfoot. You know, a bear standing up looks like a bear standing up. So, and then they got scared. You know, they run and they get disoriented because now again it's getting dark. And again, a lot of people, when they encounter things in the woods, like I said, they get lost, they get hurt, something spooks them, they run into an animal or they hear something. It's very easy to get disoriented in the woods. If you lose that trail, everything looks the same. It's all just trees and bushes and trees and bushes and rocks and trees. And, you know, so if you don't know where you're headed, especially if you're scared, now you kind of get this tunnel vision of like, let me just get out of here. So luckily they were able to find their way back. They had, you know, lights on their phones. So that is good, but always bring a headlamp with you. Even if you don't expect to be out after dark, they're small, they're compact, they're light, but God forbid you get turned around, at least you have light. So, but this is a cool sighting. They're saying it's in a developed area. I don't know about the trees falling. Trees fall, branches fall, trees decompose, they die, snow load, all sorts of things can cause branches or trees to fall. I don't necessarily think it's Bigfoot related unless somebody sees the Bigfoot doing it. So I'm not really going to address that, but this is a good sighting. It's clearly not a bear. And again, if this was a man in a ghillie suit, you'd think he would say, hey, don't shoot me. You're not going to just run away, because you run and you don't know who's on the other end of that gun. If they have a gun, somebody might take the shot and say, I bagged Bigfoot. So just a sketchy thing to do if it's a man in a ghillie suit. So this is a good sighting. Okay, story number 2. Hunter observes dark figure with swinging arms making long strides. This comes to us from Wisconsin, Price County, Wisconsin. This is November 29th of 1997. So again, late November, it's in the fall. Location details. The western portion of Price County, Lugerville, is located on Highway F, which is accessible from either Highways 13 or 70. The hunting cabin is on a fire lane off of Highway F, northwest of Lugerville. This area borders, and I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm sorry, but correct me politely in the comments, Chequamegon National Forest, and the cabin is within walking distance of the Flambeau River. The topography is a mixture of ridges, ravines, swamp, fields, and mature forests. Nearest town is Lugerville, nearest road is Highway F, and observed. It was 2:30 in the afternoon when I saw a dark figure walking along a ridge. It had a long stride with arms swinging high during its walk. I thought it was a shadow of a man walking, but the sun was not out. I previously saw two hunters who were wearing 100% blaze orange. This thing was all dark. I thought it was a landowner coming down to talk to me, but after disappearing behind some bushes, I never saw it again. The distance between us was approximately 100 yards. I became a little uneasy when I heard loud sounds like branches breaking in the forest and decided to leave the area. Also noticed loud noises like branches breaking. Then everything became uneasily quiet. Further pondering on what I saw, the most unusual thing was a swinging of the arms with hands reaching almost head level, and the hands were open almost as if it was marching. It never looked at me, but kept its head looking in the direction I was going. It was not walking on the top of the ridge, but on the further side, which had only allowed a view from its waist up. I believe it was larger than a man, since the distance being about 100 yards would have made a man seem small, and features like swinging arms would not have been easily seen. Also, before I left, I heard sounds like branches breaking, as if something purposely stepped on them. At first, I thought it was a deer, but since nothing came over the hill, I became nervous, feeling like something unusual was going to happen. I climbed out of my tree stand and left, looking around and not seeing anything unusual. So he was out just hunting for deer, no previous sightings. This was about 2:30 in the afternoon. He was in a tree stand hunting for deer in an open area surrounded by forest, swamp, and a river. There's no follow-up investigation here, but it's an interesting sighting. It's from a ways off. So he's not getting a ton of detail, but he's seeing something walking. Its arms are swinging. So again, we can rule out bear. And again, I hate the bear that everybody assumes it's a bear. Skeptics went, "Oh, you saw a bear." It's not a bear. It's hunting season. Walking around without blaze colors on, whether it's orange, red, you want to wear something bright. Usually it's orange. You want people to know, hey, I'm not a deer. I'm not a buck. I'm not a bear. I'm a human being. Please don't shoot me. So even if you're not out hunting, if you're just hiking, you want to wear bright colors so hunters know that you're not an animal. Is it possible this was a man? Of course, he's not getting a really good look at this thing. It's tall. It's swinging its arms, and people don't usually walk like that. He's 100 yards away, so that's a football field. Think of that. End zone to end zone is a football field. That's 100 yards. So you're not getting the best look at these things. I mean, some people see these things from 10, 15, 20 feet. So you're getting a much better look than 100 yards. But I like this one because I mentioned this a lot. Something in his head is saying, this is not right. This is not a man. The most unusual thing was the swinging of the arms with hands reaching almost head level. So this thing is like really, people don't walk like that. So it's just a very strange sighting. Is it possible it was a man? Of course, he's not getting that super good look at it, but it's all in dark. Again, if it's a person, very foolish to be out during hunting season, not wearing any blaze colors to say, hey, don't shoot me. Very, very strange. The branches breaking again. I don't know if it's related. Hard to say, but this is an afternoon sighting. Sun wasn't out, so he's not getting a ton of light, but I mean, it's daytime. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. It's not dusk. It's not night. So a good sighting here. Not the closest sighting, but a good one. Okay, story number 3, submitted by witness D. Stocking. Creature observed walking weird and slightly hunched over. This comes to us from Osceola County in Florida, November 22nd, 1998. It says season winter, which I guess for Floridians, this is the dead of winter. It's probably like 60 degrees. Location details: northwest end of Three Lake Wildlife Management Area, Kenansville, Florida, approximately 6 miles west on Williams Road, then north 2.85 miles on road number 1. Road 1 runs parallel with the Florida Turnpike and is approximately 1.25 miles east of the Turnpike at the point of the sighting. So pretty specific, precise location details here. Nearest road is Williams Road. Nearest town is Kenansville. Observed. Witness and a friend were deer hunting that day, so more hunting. They were resting by their vehicles at approximately 1:30 p.m. when the witness looked north on the road number 1, and observed 2 Bigfoot crossing the road from west to east. The Bigfoot crossed from an oak hammock into an area of pines and tall palmettos. Approximately 225 yards east through the pines is a large swamp. We hear that a lot, that these creatures hang out near swamps, but this is Florida. The witness and his friend were roughly 0.2 of a mile away from the creatures when they crossed the road. The witness saw a large male, 6.5 feet tall, with light brown hair cross the road first. When the witness first saw the male, he thought it was another hunter walking around without an orange safety vest on. So very similar theme here. They're thinking it's a man. Like, their first thought is, hey, this dumbass is walking around during hunting season in the woods without any, blaze colors. The witness states that it was walking weirdly and slightly hunched over. When the second one came into view, about 5.5 feet tall, it was completely black and had breasts. She also appeared to be carrying something about her waist with both hands. The witness feels she was either very pregnant or carrying a young Bigfoot. The male was 15 yards in front of the female. The witness states that the female had hairy breasts and that both Bigfoot walked without locking their knees. So really interesting here. So let's look at the follow-up investigation. Diane Stocking visited the area to meet with the witness. So she's kind of relaying this story. I should have mentioned that. I found him to be credible, honest, and very helpful. The witness and I spent 3 hours walking the area, including the swamp. We found several small limbs and twigs snapped as if someone had walked by them. This could be attributed to several things, including a hunter, animal, or Bigfoot. Also found were several markings on the ground that could have been large footfalls. The ground conditions were not conducive to footprints. Ground cover included moss, pine needles, leaves, acorns, and rotting vegetation, so not really good for capturing footprints. Swamp was thick and fairly dry, with only about 4 to 6 inches of water in sporadic locations. Nothing concrete was found at the sighting location to prove or disprove the incident. But this is interesting. They're seeing 2 creatures. Both are hairy. He's seeing a male and a female. He's not getting the real detailed look at them, but he can tell that one is male and the other one is female. Now these are a little bit smaller than the typical Bigfoot, 6.5, 5.5 feet tall. But down south, with these swamp monsters, we typically hear that they are thinner and not as tall. Up in the Pacific Northwest, these things, you hear they're 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall. They're bulky. They're like the patty, big, bulky creatures. Whereas down south, they're more, people describe them almost like basketball player build, or just normal human build, but they're hairy. It's these swamp creatures. They're more of like a hairy man versus a Bigfoot. So they're tall and skinny versus really tall and bulky. So they're typically taller than most people. 6.5. I mean, I'm 6'1", so it's not incredibly tall. 5.5 foot tall for a woman is normal. But they're saying that they were walking strangely. They were hunched. They had hair. He says that the female had hairy breasts, and both Bigfoot walked without locking their knees. So they're not really walking like people. And that's the thing. He's saying that they walked weird. Again, something in the brain is saying they look like people, but they're not people. Again, the first thought is it's a hunter. It's a hunter without, an orange vest. It's a hunter without blaze colors. And then something in their brain is like, that's not a person. It looks like a person, but it's not a person. So really interesting. Again, not tons of detail. The female may be pregnant, maybe carrying a baby, maybe carrying food, maybe carrying something to eat, deer, or who knows. But interesting. Light brown hair. A sighting of 2. You don't see that too often. Usually it's a single creature. And sometimes people will say they hear something else. They'll see a creature in front of them and they'll hear something to the left or the right or behind them. So the theory is that if you see one, there's always more around. It's never just a solitary Bigfoot. You may only be seeing one, but there's more around. But seeing more than one is interesting. So interesting sighting. But again, hunting, end of November. It's that time of year. And I think this is a good sighting. All right, everybody. So, our last story for this episode comes to us from Jefferson County in Missouri. This was on November 23rd, 2009. And location details, he has a link here to the Google Maps. So, I will link to this story if you want to come and find where this is. Nearest town is Catawissa, and observed, I just dropped my father off at his home at 1:50 a.m. in DeSoto, Missouri, as I made my way down from Highway B onto NN, heading north to my hometown, Pacific, Missouri. I was taking my time down NN, traveling at around 30 miles per hour to avoid any deer collisions due to the fact that it is deer season. I had seen frequent deer, so I'm very keen with knowing what animals in the field look like, especially through the peripheral vision of car headlights. So if you're used to driving in deer country, you're kind of always your eyes are on the road, but you're always making sure nothing's going to dart out in front of you. And this is a few days before Thanksgiving. It's like very late Saturday night into Sunday, very early Sunday morning. So this may have just been like a pre-Thanksgiving party. It doesn't actually say here, but that's what I'm guessing. But around, close enough to Thanksgiving. So I was about 5 miles from the Franklin County line when I saw a rabbit dart across the road, and I slammed the brakes to avoid hitting it. I was at 5 miles per hour rolling stop when I looked where the rabbit had run from, and I saw a 7 to 8 foot tall ape-like animal running on its hind legs at my vehicle as if it were aggressively charging at me. I did not get a look at its face other than the clear outline of the creature. So again, he's just more seeing a silhouette, something running, towards him. I was very frightened at the sight, and the sense of knowing it was an animal not native to Missouri, and it had just made me start to reconsider what I had just seen. I recently heard of the Missouri Momo, so I've done an episode on the Momo. I will link to that down below as well, the Missouri monster. And I have been very skeptical about it. I would like to know what animal in Missouri could run at that speed on its hind legs. Surely a bear cannot. Again, bears are not running on their hind legs. I also cannot understand why I would have angered a bear in any way from just stopping in the road. I debated on whether or not I should report this because a lot of people treat you like an idiot when you tell them what you saw. I thank you for taking the time to read my report. Also noticed the behavior of animals around the area before the sighting occurred. I saw many different animals, such as possum and fox, running from the very field, which caused me alarm. So yeah, he's seeing these animals run, and then this 7 to 8 foot tall ape-like creature running at him on two legs. Freaky. And this is around 2 a.m., shortly before 2 a.m. He was the only witness. He had no knowledge of any sightings in the area. He was skeptical. I mean, he had heard of Momo, but was skeptical. Partial light on the ground from the moon. There were scattered clouds. So, yeah, very strange. So there's a follow-up investigation here by BFRO investigator Ron Bowles, and he says, I talked to this witness on December 8th, 2009 via phone, a young man who had just dropped his father off after a family event in St. Louis, Missouri, and was returning home. The witness was driving with extreme caution due to the high deer population in that area, and it was rutting season. So rutting season, these things will, they need to get to something. They will dart out in front of cars. Like they're a little crazed during rutting season. He noticed that the rabbit was running west to east across the road, and instead of going into the brush on the right side of the road, the rabbit instead turned north and ran up the road. That is when he saw the large figure on his right-hand side running towards his direction 15 feet from the east, heading west, just outside the beam of his headlights. It was running bipedally and very stocky in frame. Upon seeing this unknown animal heading towards him, the young man, in lack of better terms, floored it. As he drove north, he kept looking to his right as the animal still advancing towards him as he drove off. So here's just a guy, dropped his dad off. He's trying to get home, not hit any deer, and comes across this 7 to 8 foot tall ape-like creature running on its hind legs at his vehicle, aggressively charging him. Didn't see its face, but it's not a bear. A bear's not going to run like this. A bear's not going to charge a car. And people know what a bear looks like. Bears don't run on two legs. Just very strange. I mean, even if a bear was chasing a rabbit, it's not going to run out into traffic or run at a car. I mean, I could see it crossing in front of the car to stay on top of the rabbit, but it's charging his car. So, and then he floors it. He gets scared and zooms off, and he's a skeptic. So a cool sighting here. Again, he's not getting tons of detail, but he's clearly seeing what it sounds like. And again, so we've ruled out bear. Could this be a person? Possibly, probably not. The probability is very low. You're going to have somebody in a monkey suit running after a car on a highway at 2 in the morning after chasing a rabbit. Just very, very strange, very strange. So, um, sounds like this guy had a really interesting story to tell around Thanksgiving dinner a few days later. Thanksgiving in 2009 was on the 26th. So, just a few days later, he's, I'm sure, regaling people around the dinner table about his Bigfoot sighting. So, very cool. All right, everybody. So, a shorter episode this week, but I hope you enjoyed these 4 Thanksgiving adjacent Bigfoot stories. Just a little day after Thanksgiving episode. And I like theming these episodes. It's fun for me. I don't know. That's things that are fun for me are podcasting about creatures that may not exist. So your mileage may vary. But again, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. If you have a story you want to share, if you want me to cover a certain area, town, county, state, shoot me an email, jason@oddanduntold.com. My email has been a little bit wonky lately. I think I've gotten it fixed. But if I don't get back to you right away, please just be patient with me. I'm still going through some older emails that are now coming through. So there's a lot. And for every couple of, legit emails, I'm getting tons of spam. And so I don't know if I was hacked or what, but please bear with me. In the meantime, everybody, question everything. We're not questioning the witness's integrity. We're just trying to find out what they saw, eliminate the good stuff from the bad stuff. Again, seeing a creature, seeing the hair, seeing the face, that is good data. Tree breaks and sounds in the woods, and it's decent data. It adds to the story, but doesn't really confirm or deny anything. It's something to take note of. It's circumstantial evidence, because a tree falling in the woods could be Bigfoot, but probably not. Probably just falling over. Like I said, snow load or just decomposition. So question everything, everybody. Embrace the weird. Dead Bob show. I love Dead Bob. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're into the Christmas season. Mariah Carey is rising out of the ice to sing us into oblivion. But yeah, we will see you next week, everybody. December awaits. Rock and roll.